10 UK sausage brands you should never buy, experts warn. What if I told you that the sausage sitting in your fridge right now might contain ingredients most shoppers would never knowingly eat, not just cheap meat, not just fillers, but hidden additives, mystery meat blends, and processing shortcuts that food experts say could completely change how you think about one of Britain's favourite foods? Every year, millions of people across the UK buy sausages believing they're getting traditional British quality. But behind the colourful packaging and farmhouse labels, some brands are hiding unpleasant truths: low meat content, excess salt, artificial binders, and in some cases, ingredients that barely resemble real food. Today, we're exposing 10 UK sausage brands experts warn you should think twice about buying. Some of them are sold in major supermarkets across the country, and one of them might be sitting in your freezer right now. So before your next breakfast fry-up, you may want to watch this first, because number 1 shocked even food inspectors. Sausages are practically a British institution. From the classic full English breakfast to bangers and mash, they've been a staple on UK tables for generations, but the sausage industry has changed dramatically over the past few decades. Mass production and fierce supermarket price wars, all of this has pushed some manufacturers to focus on one thing above everything else: making sausages cheaper. But there's a catch: when the price drops, something else usually drops too. Often it's the meat content. In fact, food experts say some sausages sold in UK supermarkets contain less than 40 actual meat. The rest, water, fat, breadcrumbs, binders, artificial flavorings, and sometimes additives that would make traditional butchers shake their heads in disbelief. Now, to be clear, not all sausages are bad. Some brands still produce high-quality, traditional recipes, but others, experts say, they're best left on the shelf. And what we found during this investigation might make your next supermarket trip very different. Let's begin. Walk into any supermarket and you'll see sausages priced from under £1 to over £5 per pack. That massive price gap isn't just marketing. It usually reflects what's actually inside. Food analysts explain that the biggest difference between cheap and premium sausages is meat percentage. High-quality sausages often contain 70 to 90 meat, but cheaper versions? Sometimes barely half that amount. So what fills the rest? Breadcrumbs, rusk starch, water, and emulsified fat. These fillers help manufacturers create sausages that are soft, juicy, and extremely cheap to produce. But there's another problem. To maintain flavor despite low meat content, companies often add high levels of salt and flavor enhancers. In some cases, a single serving can contain over half your recommended daily salt intake. That's one reason nutrition experts say shoppers should always check the label, but most people don't. They trust the brand, and that trust is exactly what some manufacturers rely on, which brings us to the first sausage experts say raises serious questions. Point 1. Richmond Sausages. Richmond is one of the best-selling sausage brands in the UK. But it's also one of the most criticized by food experts. Why? Because traditional Richmond pork sausages contain only around 42% pork. The rest is made up of water, rusk, stabilizers, and flavorings. Critics argue that with less than half the sausage being actual meat, it barely qualifies as a proper sausage. Point 2. Wall's Sausage is another famous name in British supermarkets, but Wall's has faced similar criticism. Some of their products contain very low meat percentages compared to traditional butcher sausages. Food reviewers often point to the long ingredient lists as a warning sign. Point 3. Tesco Everyday Value Sausages. Budget sausages can be tempting, but extremely low prices often mean extremely low meat quality. Experts warn that budget sausages may contain more filler than pork, and the flavor, often boosted heavily with salt. But the next brand shocked many shoppers for a completely different reason, and it involves how the meat is processed. Processing secrets. Most people don't know. When people picture sausage meat, they imagine fresh cuts of pork being ground up, but in large-scale factories, the process can be very different. Food manufacturing experts say some sausage meat comes from mechanically recovered meat. This is created by forcing leftover meat scraps from bones through high-pressure machines. The result is a paste-like meat product, perfectly legal, but far removed from traditional butchery. When mixed with flavorings and binders, it can be shaped into sausages that look completely normal, but the texture and nutritional quality can be very different, which leads us to another brand that experts say may rely heavily on industrial processing techniques. For ASDA Smart Price Sausages. Ultra-budget sausages often push cost-cutting to the limit, and critics say these products frequently rely on low-grade meat and high filler content. They're cheap, but food reviewers say the flavor and texture often reflect that. Point 5. Iceland Economy Sausages. Iceland is famous for frozen bargains, but economy meat products sometimes raise concerns among nutrition experts. Some packs contain very high fat levels and significant additives, but the next issue experts discovered may be even more surprising. Because it's not just about what's inside the sausage. It's also about how much salt they contain. The salt shock. Many sausages are loaded with salt. Why? Salt enhances flavor and helps preserve processed meat, but too much can pose health concerns. Some UK sausages contain over 1.8 grams of salt per serving. That's a huge amount for such a small portion. Nutritionists warn that diets high in processed meats and salt are linked to increased risks of heart disease and high blood pressure, yet most shoppers never check the nutrition label, which brings us to two more brands critics often mention when discussing high-sodium processed meats. Sainsbury's Basic Sausages. Like many entry-level supermarket products, these sausages prioritize affordability, but experts say affordability often means compromises in meat quality and nutritional balance. 7. Morrison Savers Sausages. Another budget option widely available across the UK. Again, the biggest concern cited by food analysts is low meat percentage and higher filler ratios, but the next problem might be the most controversial of all, because it involves something many people don't realise about flavoured sausages. The flavour trick. Walk down the sausage aisle and you'll see flavours like caramelised onion, herb and garlic. Maple glaze, cracked black pepper. Sounds delicious, but in some cases, these flavors are added artificially. Food technologists say strong flavorings can sometimes be used to mask lower meat quality. If the base sausage is bland, add spices, add sugar, add smoke flavoring, suddenly it tastes premium even if the meat isn't. 2 Brands that often divide opinion among food reviewers fall into this category. 8. Heck flavored sausages. Heck produces many high-quality products, but some critics argue certain flavored varieties contain unexpected additives and flavor enhancers. Always check the label carefully. 9. Matteson Sausages. Known more for hot dogs and processed meats, some products rely heavily on processing and preservatives to extend shelf life, which may not appeal to shoppers seeking traditional sausages, but the final brand on our list might surprise you the most, because it's marketed as premium, yet critics still raise questions. Premium illusion. Premium packaging doesn't always guarantee premium quality. Some sausages feature words like farmhouse, traditional, finest, but these labels are often marketing terms rather than regulated standards, which brings us to the final brand. 10. Some supermarket finest range sausages. These sausages often look artisan, but experts say shoppers should still check meat percentage and ingredient lists. Sometimes the difference between finest and budget ranges is smaller than expected, and the price much higher. Shocking revelation. So what did food experts conclude after analyzing dozens of UK sausage products? 3 things stood out. First, the longer the ingredient list, the more likely the sausage contains fillers and additives. And third, some of the cheapest sausages in supermarkets are essentially processed meat mixtures shaped into sausages. Not the traditional butcher product many shoppers imagine, but the good news: there are still excellent sausages available. You just need to know how to spot them. Solutions safe choice. Here's what experts recommend when buying sausages. 1. Check the meat percentage. Look for 70 pork or higher. Better sausages often reach 85 to 95 meat. 2. Read the ingredient list. Shorter is better. Traditional sausages need only a pork, seasoning and maybe breadcrumbs. That's it. 3. Buy from local butchers when possible. Butchers often produce sausages with higher quality cuts and fewer additives. 4. Watch the salt content. Try to choose sausages with under 1.2 g of salt per serving. 5. Don't be fooled by packaging. Fancy labels don't guarantee quality. Always check the numbers. Sausages may look simple, but behind the supermarket packaging lies an industry full of shortcuts, fillers, and clever marketing. Some brands still honor traditional recipes, others, experts say, they push the limits of what a sausage should be. So next time you're standing in the chilled aisle, ask yourself one question: what's really inside that sausage? Because once you start checking the labels, you may never shop the same way again. If you found this investigation useful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves a good fry-up. And tell us in the comments which sausage brand surprised you the most, because the next food investigation might reveal something even more shocking. Deeper investigation: what the labels don't tell you. By now, you might be wondering something important. If some sausages contain less than half real meat, how are they still allowed to be sold as sausages? The answer lies in UK food regulations. Under current food standards, sausages only need to contain a minimum percentage of meat depending on the type. As long as manufacturers meet that threshold and clearly list ingredients, the product is considered legally compliant, but legality doesn't always mean quality, and that's where consumer advocates say shoppers need to pay closer attention, because while the law allows certain ingredients, it doesn't guarantee the sausage you're buying is anything close to traditional British butchery. In fact, one food inspector interviewed during a consumer investigation made a surprising comment. He said many supermarket sausages today are closer to processed meat blends than classic butcher sausages. And once you understand how modern sausage factories operate, you begin to see why. Large-scale sausage production is a highly engineered process. Thousands of kilograms of meat are processed every hour. Machines grind, mixers blend, fillers inject ingredients into casings at incredible speeds, but it's what goes into those mixers that matters most. A typical industrial sausage mix may include pork trimmings, fat scraps, water, breadcrumbs, or rusk, seasoning blends, preservatives, stabilizing agents. Everything is carefully measured to achieve the desired texture and cost. Target, because in the supermarket sausage market, price competition is brutal. If one brand can sell a pack for £1.50, others feel pressure to match it, and that pressure often leads to ingredient compromises: more filler, less meat, stronger flavoring. But here's something even fewer people realize. Some sausages are designed to retain water during cooking. That's why certain sausages shrink dramatically in the pan. The water evaporates, leaving behind a much smaller portion of actual meat, which means you may be paying for water weight without even knowing it. But the next discovery might be even more surprising, because it involves something hiding in plain sight on the packaging. The marketing tricks that fool shoppers. Walk through the chilled aisle and you'll see words like farmhouse, traditional recipe, butcher's choice, premium selection. These phrases sound reassuring. They create the image of small farms, local butchers, and heritage recipes, but many of these terms are not legally protected descriptions. That means companies can use them freely, even for mass-produced factory sausages. Food marketing experts call this heritage branding. It's designed to make products feel authentic and traditional, even when they're manufactured at industrial scale, and it works. Studies show shoppers are far more likely to trust foods that appear rustic or traditional, but there's one simple way to see past the marketing. Flip the package over, check the meat percentage. If it's below 60, that sausage is likely relying heavily on fillers and binders. And the difference in taste can be dramatic, but the story doesn't end there, because experts say another hidden issue may affect how sausages are preserved. The preservative question. Many processed meats rely on preservatives to maintain freshness and color. One commonly used group of preservatives is nitrites. Nitrites help keep meat looking pink and prevent harmful bacteria growth. They also extend shelf life, but health researchers have debated nitrites for years. Some studies suggest high consumption of processed meats containing nitrites may be linked to long-term health risks. That doesn't mean the occasional sausage is dangerous, but nutritionists often recommend moderation when it comes to heavily processed meats, especially when they're high in salt and fat as well, which raises an important question. If some sausages are heavily processed, are there better options available? The answer is yes. And many of them might be closer than you think. What good sausages actually look like? When experts talk about high-quality sausages, they usually point to a few key indicators. High meat content. Traditional butcher sausages typically contain 80 to 95 pork. Simple ingredients. Good sausages don't need a long chemical list, just meat, seasoning, and sometimes a small amount of rusk. Third, natural texture. When cooked, quality sausages hold their shape and release less water, and the flavor? Much richer, much more natural. Many food critics say once you try a proper butcher's sausage, it becomes very difficult to go back to ultra-cheap supermarket versions. But that brings us to another important point. Price alone doesn't guarantee quality. Even premium products can sometimes disappoint, which is why experienced shoppers rely on a simple label trick. The 5-second sausage test. Food experts recommend a quick method you can use in any supermarket. It takes less than 5 seconds. Step 1. Look at the meat percentage. Anything under 60 should raise questions. Step 2. Check the ingredient list. Length. If it reads like a chemistry experiment, it's probably highly processed. Step 3. Look at salt content. Lower sodium products are usually the healthier choice. Using this simple test, shoppers can instantly separate higher quality sausages from heavily processed ones. But perhaps the biggest surprise from our investigation is this: not all supermarket sausages are bad. In fact, some brands have dramatically improved their recipes in recent years. Why? Because consumers started demanding better quality food, and that shift is slowly changing the industry. The future OFSAUSAGS across the UK, food trends are evolving. Consumers are asking tougher questions. Where does the meat come from? How much processing is involved? What exactly are we eating? In response, many companies have started introducing sausages with higher meat content, fewer additives, better sourcing. Some supermarkets even partner with local farms to produce premium sausage ranges with transparent ingredients, and that's good news for shoppers, because it means you now have more control than ever over what ends up on your plate. But knowledge is the real power. Once you understand what's behind the label, you become a smarter buyer. Sausages might look like one of the simplest foods in the supermarket, but as we've seen today, the truth can be far more complicated. Behind the packaging, the flavors, and the marketing claims lies a huge industry built on cost, convenience, and consumer trust. Some brands deserve that trust, others. Experts say they deserve a closer look before you buy. So next time you're preparing a fry-up or planning a barbecue, take a moment, turn the pack over, check the label, because once you know what to look for, you might never choose sausages the same way again. If you enjoyed this investigation and want to see more food truths most people never hear about, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, and tell us in the comments, what food should we investigate next, because the next product we uncover